Hello, this is your host Akhil Navluri, and welcome to a brand new episode of the TechnoSpace podcast series. In this podcast episode, I'm super thrilled and honored to welcome one of the most prominent and eminent industry leaders of the IT space, Mrs. Muriel Demarcus, who happens to be the founder and CEO of Marsham Edge company. And she has a huge passion towards AI and smart technologies that we're going to talk about in deep as we go throughout our conversation. And she's based out of Singapore. Off to you. So why don't you talk about yourself to our audience and about your company, Marsham Edge, in depth?
Thank you, Akil. Great to meet you. Yes, I'm the founder and CEO of Marsham Edge. It's still a pretty new company, but we're getting more traction than I thought. We're less than 4 months old. So about me and Marsham Edge, so maybe I should explain how Marsham Edge sort of was created. So it was born from a very clear conviction that the infrastructure world needed bold innovation, not just in materials or timeline, but in mindset. So I founded the company after decades of leading mega projects in France, in the UK, and more recently in Australia, because I was frustrated by how little had changed operationally despite technological advancement. I had moved to Singapore, I had upskilled in AI, and I felt that AI could be a game changer to manage
All
a
right.
big transport project.
Right.
So, and turns out I was right, or so far I am right, because just a few months in, we've secured clients across 3 continents, and the need is global, right? Every project wants to deliver on time and on budget, and most mega projects like metro lines, high voltage line, distribution line, these type of things, most projects are late and over budget, right? So the question they're all asking me is, how do I make smarter decisions earlier?
All right.
How do I avoid repeating mistakes? So that's where we come in. We try to combine AI and smart tech strategy
Awesome.
and deep delivery experience. And as far as being a CEO, well, it's a leap and it's a return.
All right.
Obviously, I'm drawing on 30 years of execution, but I'm doing it with fresh
All right.
tools and a startup fire, right? Yeah.
That's an amazing overview, Muriel. So now, at the stroke of this hour, which is 1:34 p.m. IST, let's kick off with the podcast episode. So, Muriel, let's talk about your tenure in the
Yeah.
IT industry and how did you start your journey all the way?
Oh, I started my journey. So I'm an engineer by background. I did things are slightly different in France. So I did applied math and signaling / electricity. So I suppose you can call me an electrical engineer, but I'm also a mathematician, right?
All right.
And right after uni, I started delivering projects all over the world, starting in Paris, then London, Sydney, and now Singapore. So I've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly. And now I'm on a mission to improve the way we deliver mega projects. And I moved to Singapore last year and I
Okay.
upskilled in AI. And when I saw what AI and Spark technology could do, I decided to help project teams, my previous colleagues, if you want, to
All right.
leverage AI. So that's how Marsham Edge was born.
Okay.
We are a small consulting company helping projects to find out the best tools for their specific problems and their specific phase to leverage AI. We are a young company. We started only 4 months ago, and we're already making headway. And Marsham Edge is also a platform. So obviously, I'm doing classic consulting work, helping project teams to leverage AI. But I'm also building a platform with real life case studies
Okay.
and short videos and the personalized AI roadmap, and that's getting a lot of traction as well. So
All
wish
right.
me luck. I'm trying to do two businesses in one.
Definitely.
So that's me in a nutshell, Akil.
All the best for that, Amelia. Now, I just wanted to understand, like, would you like to give me, let's say an insight about your tenure being the CEO and the founder of your company, Marsham Edge? I know you just told me about Marsham Edge. Now, I want to know from your perspective, like, how are you able to, take the things together?
Well, that's a great question. I think that being a CEO is, again, both a leap and a return. I have been delivering projects all over the world for 30 years, and I was used to having big teams. I'm drawing on 30 years of the execution, but no, I'm leading a startup. So it's a very small team. Most of the time, it's just me. I'm trying to get more help, but it's mainly me. It's been quite a leap of faith, I would say. But I'm starting with fresh tools, a startup file, and what I'm enjoying the most is probably to be able to work with project teams all over the world
All
and
right.
see the different issues all over the world. So loving it. I can loving it. I will highly recommend it.
Awesome, awesome. Now, I mean, when you're trying to, solve the issues pertaining to different projects, do you see there is any cultural aspect related to that? Like, I mean, pertaining to the different world, like in your view?
That's a very good question. I would say yes, each country is different. I recently was working a few weeks in Australia, and obviously the team I'm working with are very keen to leverage AI. However, the wider ecosystem is very scared, right? They don't
Okay.
want to use AI, they don't control it, they don't understand it. So I think it's going to be, we're going to have to overcome those obstacles to sort of get the best for project outcome. I would say things are very different in Singapore, where AI is just everywhere. You don't wait for taxis, you don't wait for the MRT. It's,
Hmm.
much more proactive in using AI. Europe, I would say, is a little bit in between. As for the Middle East, I think Dubai has done some great things, especially in terms of customer service with chatbots and these type of things. There is no one size fit all. And for Marsham Edge, it's important to adapt ourselves to, each specific issues and find the right answer for them. But I would say a good part of my job is really to explain and to educate. And to an extent, I sometimes feel like a counselor, uh,
Okay.
trying to understand why they are so scared of AI and what's preventing them from using it more. And little by little, step by step, I'm trying to debunk the myth, really.
That's an amazing approach, Muriel. Now, if I would just like to ask you this, like, would you like to give a complete overview to me and our listeners about your company, Marsham Edge, now with respect to the geographies and the key areas that your company is currently focused on?
Okay, so well, it's early days, so I'm going to tell you where I am right
Okay.
now and what I see, going forward. So we are headquartered in Singapore, but we operate globally. I would say 90% of my clients right now are outside of Singapore. It's mainly Europe, Asia Pacific, and the Middle East right now. Marsham Edge way of working is lean and agile, so we are trying to embed quickly within clients' ecosystem. Um, and we focus on three key things: AI for advisory for infrastructure, so how to leverage AI at each phase of the project. We do as well commercial and delivery strategy for large-scale projects. So that's more in construction. So in delivery, we're trying to optimize the schedule and these type of things. And we are also sometimes getting our hands dirty figuratively because we are doing machine learning and trying to find the best type of model to, prevent breakdown from happening. I personally have a soft spot for the CNN LSTM models hybrid, but that's a whole different discussion and probably
Okay.
for another podcast, I feel. And I suppose we adapt ourselves. So I think the first phase is usually quite strategic, quite high level. And we partner with larger players, actually, usually to deliver this phase. And then we can help with the implementation and actually code ourselves. What makes us unique is this blend of expertise between project management. I'm a project director.
All
I've
right.
done it. I've been there. And my knowledge of AI, being a mathematician by background, and that's helping a lot to find the right tool for specific problems. So we are not just consultants. I would say we've lived it. And obviously, we're trying to build a platform as well. And our approach is slightly different than the traditional consulting companies.
Hmm.
What we're doing is this at Kiel. I'm trying to find real life examples of successful or unsuccessful uses of AI all over the world. So if a client comes to me and tells me, look, I don't think AI can work for me, I have to, manage my invoices manually. I'm going to tell them, actually, no, it's been done in this company, and this is how they did it. And despite the fact that all your invoices are
Okay.
different, they managed to train a model, and this is how much it costs. So I'm trying to find real life case studies that are similar to their issues so that they can see what they can do. And
Yeah.
obviously, after that, they can decide whether to
Mm.
implement the same thing or something similar or design their own solution. So that's how we work, really.
Right. Now, when you're going to the customers and convincing them that you need to let's say utilize AI and apply AI in their regular day-to-day basis. So,
Mhm.
is that do you have a pre-sales team, Muriel, to that you go all the way there, or is it you at the moment who's taking care of everything?
At the moment, I'm taking care of way too much. That's the answer. So yeah, I'm a coach, and I code. I do a little bit of everything. So
Right.
at the moment, we're really trying. There is no one size fits all. So the first thing we're trying to understand the level of maturity of the project team,
Okay.
and then understand where they want to go to, and we're trying to bridge the gap. So I would say that the overall approach,
All right.
and I think with my background, I can do, I can help them to understand what AI is about, because that's what I did in Singapore last year. But once they are convinced, I can also help them to implement what needs to be implemented.
That's an amazing approach, Muriel. Then, I mean, you're a complete all-rounder. You're balancing everything all the way, and yeah, way to go for that. And I wish you all the best for that. And I would like to hear more, as we, discuss or let's say keep in touch for all these years.
Happy to come back and have a look at the platform, marshamedge.com, where we're going to put short videos and real life case
All
studies
right.
so that you don't have to pay consultants. It's already in there. And again, I think people believe that they need to be experts at AI, that some are really complicated.
Yeah.
And I don't think it is. And that's why we really want to, simplify things and show real life examples of where it's been done elsewhere,
Yeah.
so that people don't need to spend hours studying LLMs and all sort of other acronyms. No, we really are trying to be pragmatic in our approach.
Awesome. Awesome, Muriel. Now, if I would just like to understand this, like, I mean, would you like to, share your experience, or let's say, how was your experience like when you were the commercial director and the executive director for the transport department of Sydney a few years ago? Like, how was that experience like?
Oh, actually, it was fantastic. I had a great time. I have still friends at Transport for New South Wales, so I have only good things to say about the team. We were managing multi-billion-dollar programs under a lot of public scrutiny, and that teaches you a lot about resilience, right? Stakeholder alignment and negotiation. I suppose we've seen everything that can go wrong on projects, and we were really trying to catch up, accelerate, and deliver for the wider community, right? So I led commercial strategy across mega projects from metro to road, etc. And we were trying to introduce innovative procurement models to accelerate outcome. We were also trying to get information more in real time so that you could, make sure that you were not missing anything in terms of commercial compliance, contract compliance, and these type of things. So I suppose it is at Transport for New South Wales that I really pushed this approach of embedding data-driven approaches in delivery.
All right.
So yeah, we really, started to have a more holistic view and gathering all the data on all projects. And I would say that's where I could see the early signs of AI. And that's where the obsession really started, Akhil,
Okay.
to, to answer your question. So what I took from
Right.
that time is that, the transformation in the public sector is entirely possible, but you need vision, not just compliance. So you really need to push for it and to
Hmm.
drive it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's absolutely right. I mean, that's a good piece of advice. Now, I would just like to understand this. Like you were saying, data sources, that were embedded in the, transport department of Sydney. So how are the data sources like? I mean, how was the data like in simple form? Was it like a structured data or, unstructured, or was it like a semi-structured data? Like, how was the data like?
Well, it was the real world, right? So you had a little bit of everything. So I suppose some of the data was structured because you have contractual documents that you analyze. So to an extent, that's fairly structured.
All right.
And obviously, that's all about having a repository of all this information. But unfortunately, Akil, on mega project, things are complicated. And I
All
was
right.
more interested in the unstructured data, if you want,
Oh,
or
okay.
even the information that was not in the reports, right? So it was all about building not only it's not only an IT database, but this culture of identifying red signals before they become issues. So red flags, if you want, before they become issue. So it's about trying to capture this from meetings and these type of things. So yeah, so it's both of them to answer your question in a short way.
In a short way, I can say it's best of both worlds, right?
Yes, yes, yes. And that's where, the power of AI comes in, because AI can analyze a lot more data in a shorter time,
Right.
which will give the project teams more time for the more strategic work, right? For
Exactly.
to try to flag, the red flags, the small issue that might become bigger. So, and that's how I see AI. It's not replacing anyone, but
Right.
it enhances the work that project managers can do, because it's going to summarize and organize the existing data and give the teams more time to find out what's really happening on the ground. Yeah.
That's amazing, Muriel. Now, if I would just like to understand this, like, can you give me an overview of your university stint and how did that transition or your way all the way to the IT industry?
So as you can probably hear, I'm French born. So I graduated from École Centrale Paris, and the French system is a very, how can I say, it's all about mathematics, right? And stats
Really?
and
Okay.
yeah, and these sort of things. Yeah, what I've been through is like that. Having
Okay.
said having said this, I've always blended the analytical and the practical. So I would say my engineering slash applied mathematics degree was absolutely perfect for AI, because
Hmm.
the logic hasn't changed. The statistics haven't changed. What has changed is the computational power. We can now manage, much larger databases, and also the algorithm are now much easier to use, right? I remember my end of the year project at my uni, which was about a Fourier transform of a sound signal. It took me like 2 months to code and write the report. And you remember
Mhm.
those times where a punctuation mistake meant that you had to redo the whole thing and you could spend half the
Yeah,
day. Yeah, well,
exactly.
you're probably too young to remember that. But anyway, so I do remember that. And I actually did something pretty similar last year with Python and the new technologies, and it took me 2 hours, because now you have a free source algorithm that you can use, and if you make the punctuation mistake, it's getting sort of corrected automatically, so it's much easier. So I suppose what I'm trying to say is that the transition into AI and IT wasn't sudden. It was really, it happened gradually.
Okay.
It was also deliberate. I
Okay.
saw very early on how data could reshape decision making in infrastructure. And that's why I upskill in AI, LLMs, and Python. And I suppose I've always wanted, I call it strategic laziness, right? Instead of jumping headfirst into solution mode, I've always tried to gather data and try to build a model to understand it. And I did that when I was working for a train manufacturing company in a factory in France, and I couldn't understand why a component could be a couple of days late, but the production line was completely disrupted and you were a couple of months late in the end. I really, something for me didn't add up. And what I did, I modeled the production line and the bottlenecks and to try to understand the drivers and where,
All right.
the critical delays were happening. And
Oh,
I did that. And and actually last year I did something similar using Simulate and Simulate, follow a similar logic than the one I had followed like 20 years before. So I suppose, yes, my degree prepared me, but I would say what prepared me the most is my mathematical and analytical skills, because that hasn't changed. And
hmm.
with AI, you can now analyze much more and much faster.
That's amazing. I mean, from back then itself, you got the idea. I mean, you were just like ahead of time. You were just thinking of, linking all the things together.
I call it strategic laziness, right? I didn't want
Strategic
solution.
laziness.
I was trying to understand the drivers before sort of finding the solution. You see what I mean? Because most
Yeah,
people
yeah, yeah.
jump into solution mode, right?
Yeah.
And it's sometimes good to take a step back and say, okay, let's try to find the drivers, and then you can find a more sustainable solution. Yeah.
Yeah,
Not
exactly.
always, obviously. Yeah, but anyway.
Sometimes if you overthink, I mean, I don't know, from people perspective, the things that I can compare between a human and a chat GPT is more like, sometimes if we also think too much, we hallucinate because we sometimes lose the track. Okay, what are we exactly thinking about? And AI is also doing the same thing.
Mm, mm,
So
mm, mm,
that's the
mm.
similarity that I observe.
Yeah. True. Well, it mimics how we are thinking, sometimes in a good way, sometimes
Yeah.
in a bad way, obviously. Yeah.
Absolutely. That's a very good insight on that. Now, I just wanted to understand, like, what are the types of strategic advisory services that you're providing to organizations or let's say companies who are, interested to leverage their AI, optimize their operations, and finally navigate through complex infrastructure challenges? Like, what goes on with that?
So long story short, we've helped public and private organizations, and we're trying to identify with them high return of investment use cases for AI. Because from predictive maintenance to automatic approvals, you can usually improve things with AI. But strategy without delivering is just a PowerPoint. So we really are trying to work side by side to operationalize the roadmap and give them existing tools, preferably off the shelf, because you don't want to reinvent the wheel, to optimize whatever they want to optimize, whatever problem they want to solve. And we know what works, Akil, and we know what doesn't. So we don't want to create, a cottage sort of industry where we will spend millions on a model that will not work. So we are really
Mhm.
trying to find solutions that work, that are simple, that we control, and that we can explain. So just to give you an example, we were
Yeah.
working with a government entity on using generative AI for station layout. And we reduced design iteration by 70%. And how did we do that? It's actually we front loaded the program work. We tested hundreds of possible solutions, right?
Yeah.
And then we chose the best one, and hence the design was streamlined.
Okay.
Because usually what happens, you progress the design and then you test it and then you go back. So we really did as much testing as we could upfront thanks to AI. So this is the type of example. We
All right.
also help clients assess vendor technologies.
Mm-hmm.
So the problem with AI, Akil, is that every day there is a new tool. So
Okay.
clients are a little bit lost. What do I use? What don't I use? And they hear about digital twins, machine learning, and this new AI, etc. And so we are trying to build what I call AI literacy in order for the transformation to be successful. And
Right.
I suppose we are also telling them that it's all right if it doesn't work. If it fails, it's fine, but you need to fail fast and try something else. So
Right. Something else.
it's
Exactly.
it's
Yeah.
about being agile, which is a really, change of mindset, I would say,
Yeah.
for them, because they tend to choose a vendor solution
Yeah.
and they want to hide behind it. But sometimes it's not going to answer all their needs. So you
Yeah.
still need to be flexible. But I think the summary, what I'm trying to say, Akil, is that we bring it back to outcomes. It's all about results. It's all
Yeah.
about faster delivery, smarter decisions, better risk management, and simplifying as much as we can all this big amount of data that we need to understand.
That's a very unique approach. Now, I mean, when it comes to the AI literacy, like how are you able to convince them? Like, what steps are you taking to, tell them that okay, new technology is coming in place. There's no need to worry about, and it's not going to create any discrepancy. So, what do you exactly tell them to convince them?
Well, I'm trying to tell as little as possible. I'm trying to show as much as possible. I think that will be the answer.
Yeah.
I don't. I'm trying not to bore them with the theory. I'm also telling them not to read the press too much because often what is written is more an opinion, rather
Yeah.
than
Right. Right.
a balanced analysis. I'm basically telling them to try small, and then learn
Hmm.
from that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because most of my clients are scared, then they don't know how to use. So I'm really trying to explain to them that it's fine, it's worked elsewhere, and this is what they need to do, really. So it's about bringing everything together.
That's perfect. Now, I just wanted to understand, like, would you like to, I mean, shed some spotlight about your expertise, and on, let's say, delivering complex projects and, through these different frameworks that are belonging to the likes of Triple P, NEC, FIDIC, Alliance, and ITC and GNC. So, like, as the list goes on, but how are you able to, balance it all?
That's a very good question, Akil. And each countries have their preferred contract types, which makes it that little bit more complicated for me. But long story short, I liked it so much that along the way I became a lawyer. Akil, I do have a Master of Law degree as well.
Okay.
Yeah, because
Nice.
I didn't understand how lawyers were thinking, so I started and I just loved it. So anyway, but to answer your question, these are not just acronyms to me, right? It's a framework, and I've
Mhm.
had to live and breathe across continents for each of those frameworks. You have to manage your contract according to the framework. So some of those frameworks are pretty similar. Don't say it too loudly, but I find that NEC and FIDIC and incentivized target costs, it's more or less the same philosophy, right? People don't like it
Right.
when I say that, but it is. Believe me, I've seen it in different countries. So there are more collaborative contracts, and I would say that contrary to popular beliefs, more collaborative contract like Alliance, like NEC, etc., are more work because you really need to have a good visibility of the progress of the works. You really need to have transparency on the cost. So it's extra management, I would say, contrary to popular belief. PPP usually has a whole new layer of complexity because on top of the usual project issues, you have the financing issues on top of that. And when there is a cost overrun, it can escalate pretty quickly
All
because you
right.
don't know who covers the bills and these type of things. So it's really important to understand the key drivers and the logic. And I would say the more complex a project, the more collaborative and transparent you need to be to sort of try to catch issue earlier on. For more simple projects, I would advise project teams to choose a standard contract, design and construct, or DNC, because it's a lump sum contract. And if it's something that they've done over and over again, you just want the standard contract and you get on with the work. Having said this, you might have a very good contract. If you have a very
Right.
bad team, it's not going to work.
Okay.
You might have a very bad contract, but the teams are really competent. They want to do a great job and things will be fine. So I suppose at the end of the day, it's all about the team. It's all about, the people who are managing the contract and how they want to perform, I would say. So, yeah.
So now, when I was just mentioning about all these frameworks, now, does the framework have any kind of a confinity, or let's say what do I say, that a reduction in the team members, or let's say a limit in the team members, like number of team members and all?
It depends. I wouldn't say, generally speaking, it's not really a question of team member. It's probably for more collaborative contract. I would say you need more people to check on the progress of the works and really
Okay.
understand, right? For more standard contract, you probably need less people. There is no one size fits all. I do believe that over time, AI will probably take a bigger part of, AI will deal with the more administrative tasks, and that will leave more time for project managers to deal with the more strategic stuff, the
All right.
thing that AI cannot do. So yes, so there are differences in terms of the needs, but the differences are also because of the scope of the contract, the complexity of the contract, the interfaces, the phase of the contract. For the development phase, you're going to need more designers. For, the delivery phase, it's more about construction. So the skills also change. And yes, the side of the teams can change. And it's important, once again, to be agile and flexible.
Absolutely. Now, also when I was mentioning about the contract names, like is any contract, linked to a particular country? Does NEC, just belong to an Asian region or a European region, or they're like completely global? Like, what is the stance on that?
Oh, you do have some global contracts like NEC and FIDIC, right? But then each country prefers one type of contract. For instance, when I was working in Australia, we don't talk about NEC, we talk about incentivized target cost. Again, I
Okay.
feel don't repeat it too loudly. It's more or less the same, right? But I
Right.
haven't keep
Yeah.
that between us and our listeners. So I think each country has a preferred type of contract, which is their choice, I would say. But I think they need to make the choice for the right reason. What I've often seen, and I didn't like that, is that, people believe they are special, which they might be, and as a result, they want a customized contract, and they're going to pay expensive lawyers to sort of draft a specific contract,
All right.
which is not necessarily the best solution,
Mhm.
and because you cannot reinvent the wheel every time you have a new project or a new contract. So I do believe that the contractual landscape will change, especially with AI, when you can standardize clauses, right? So I do believe that FIDIC has done something along those lines. Now you can specify the level of risk, the ways of working, and it gives you a contract almost automatically. So I think, and I kind of like these initiatives, Akil, because it means that you have a tried and tested form of contract as opposed to a one-off
All right.
that is going to change over time. It also means that hopefully you don't spend as much in legal fees, which is always, in my view, better. And I say this despite being a lawyer as well.
All right. That's a very crazy insight on that. Now, I just wanted to understand this, Muriel. Now, what would you like to, tell me about your passion towards AI and smart technologies, and what actually led you towards this?
Well, again, for me, it's not just a technology, it's a new lens, right? AI is a tool and it's allowing projects to make decisions faster with better forecast and with fewer blind spots. So, in short, it's a no-brainer, Akil. What's not to love, right?
Yeah.
Um, I've spent the last couple of years fully immersing myself. So I started by reading articles, but then I started building models. I started testing tools. I started, doing all sort of training. And I decided to bring that back into the world I know best, so projects and infrastructure. So I suppose the reason why I went into AI and smart tech is that my passion lies in the practical, the pragmatic. How do we use AI to improve safety, to eliminate downtime? How do we make mega projects more predictable? How do we use computer vision to detect defects early and save lives? So
Right.
I saw AI for me is an opportunity to really bridge two worlds. So the old I was about to say the old-fashioned world of projects, which is not very kind for all the project world. But I mean, the traditional way of delivering projects and those new technologies. And because of my background, I want to be a bridge between those two worlds. So I'm
Okay.
still a project director, right? And I happen to understand what AI and smart technologies can do. So that's really what made a huge difference for me.
Awesome. That's amazing. Now, earlier, like in our earlier discussion, you just told me about smart technologies and you gave me an insight with respect to the 3D printing. Now,
Yeah.
and I just did my own research and came to know that that 3D printing is additive manufacturing.
Mm.
If that puts across. Now, if our listeners want to understand what is 3D printing, like how would you explain about that in a simple context?
3D printing is basically the ability to print any 3D object with most materials, right? And that's quite amazing because I'll give you an example. You can now manufacture sort of components that you otherwise couldn't manufacture. So typically metallic pieces with a hole in the middle that are traditionally quite hard to manufacture. That can be done easily with 3D printing or additive manufacturing. I suppose you've all seen SpaceX, the rocket from
Yeah.
Elon Musk. The engine is all done by 3D printing now, all
Okay.
done, everything. And so you have a level of precision and level of complexity that you probably could not achieve with traditional means. So the application of 3D printings are huge. Medical, you can even print cells apparently, which raises all sort of other ethical issues. You
Mhm.
can start. I saw on YouTube that they were building a high rise, with 3D printing as well. Uh,
Oh,
I know, so it's really getting big. Having said that, if I think with my project cap on, and I've worked a lot in transport projects and trains, to me, 3D printing could make a huge difference on spare parts. When you have train and then they fail, there is a breakdown, you need to replace a component, a piece or something, so you have a spare part. And usually you have, a stock of spare parts, but for some reason, actually, it's never the right ones. So, so what
I know.
happens is then you need to call the company that has manufactured the train and ask them to sort of redo a
Right.
specific piece and stuff, and it takes so much time. So
Mhm.
instead of having, these huge stocks of spare parts, couldn't we use 3D printing
Yep.
to sort of adapt the spare parts to the real needs?
Right.
And actually, in theory, we wouldn't even need any stock, right? Because you'd have 3D printings and you could replace almost immediately the
Yeah.
components. So I agree with you. The potential of 3D printing is huge
Yep.
and hasn't been completely explored just yet.
Yeah, I mean, it just arises a new question from my end. What I feel is that, when you're doing 3D printing, let's say a spare part that's missing out from a rail
Mm.
engine, or let's say from a rail company, then, the person can actually call the rail company and say that, I'm creating a spare part from your company. So would you like to have a look? So if they work in collaboration and cooperation, probably that could also help out in the 3D
No,
printing
but
world.
that's a really good point because one of the pain points now is people don't know how to manufacture the components, right? And they say, well, will the manufacturer allow it and this type of stuff? So
Yeah.
if they were to collaborate a little bit more closely, surely I think it will be a win-win sort of thing.
All right. That completely explains the answer to me. Now, I want to understand this, like, as you just told me earlier as well, that 3D printing actually incurs a lot of cost. And to get that 3D printing machine and those equipments right, it costs a lot of money. So, but how do you reduce the cost for that and make 3D printing a little bit efficient and cost reduced on that way?
That's a very good question. There is no magic wand. I suppose it is, you're right, it is quite expensive, but I would say it is expensive for the prototypes and then
Yeah.
it gets cheaper and cheaper. So it's one of those things, the more you use it, the cheaper it is. So I
Yeah.
do believe that if you only do a couple of pieces, yeah, you're right, it's going to be
Right.
a lot more expensive than manufacturing the component or the piece, the traditional way.
Yep.
If you do it more systematically, then it's a lot cheaper. So it's about finding this sweet spot, Akil.
Yeah.
as to, how much you use it.
Yeah, that actually, now actually answers my question, because this is the question which I really wanted to ask,
Mhm.
like, before our call, and I was also prepping for that. Now, now, Muriel, finally, if I would like to, understand this, like, what has led to the creation of the AI roadmaps, which is platform driven, which you just talked about in the starting?
That's a very good question. I saw a market for that, right? I saw that project teams wanted AI, but didn't know where to start. I also saw that people wanted AI, but they didn't really know where to start. So I wanted to explain to them what they could do, where they should look at, and I tried testing as many AI tools as I could. And that's how the AI roadmap was born, right? So
Okay.
and so I'm doing it as a consultant. I'm co-designing roadmaps, but I'm doing it also on the platform, marshamedge.com, where basically you fill a form. So you can do it for an individual or for a project. So you explain, the level of maturity of AI that you have. Are you familiar with it? What tools are you using? And then you explain what your goals are. Do you want to, I'm making this up, generate presentation? Do you want to, improve your forecast or whatever? And then there are a few choices, and then you can input what you want. And then the system will give you automatically a roadmap. So it will give you, it will suggest, some courses, but it will also suggest some AI tools to
All
sort of
right.
answer your specific needs. And it will rank them. It will give you a budget. It will also tell you how difficult they are to implement. And that's actually I have a little story about that. So
Right.
I felt there was a need, so I did that on marshamedge.com, and I created for individuals a basic version, free, and then for the price of a cup of coffee, so 5 Singaporean dollars, coffee is quite
Yeah.
expensive in Singapore.
Okay.
You can have a more detailed roadmap, like 3 or 4 pages, and it explains to you what the options are in terms of education. It gives you a quick overview of the tools, etc., etc. And a little bit less than 500 people actually paid for the roadmap. So I wasn't expecting
Oh,
it. I know I wasn't expecting it to be so successful. And to this day, Akil, I don't understand. So what I've decided to do is, so we're preparing the platform now. So I'm going to put it again, in the platform once it's ready to launch. Yeah.
it is a need of the hour. That's why many people have, just stormed in and try and, made themselves try that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. Now, you just were telling me that, it suggests few AI tools. So may I know, like, what's the name of the AI tools that, these AI roadmaps suggest?
So there are different things you can use. So it depends on the problems. Let me give you an example. So for scheduling, you have off-the-shelf tools.
Okay.
So traditionally, scheduler, they work with, P6, Primavera, or MS Project, and you have a team of scheduler. You now have AI tools, and there are plenty of them that can optimize your schedule, benchmark it against existing schedule, but also check the sequence of your task. So if you're familiar with NLP and bags of work, so it really checks, that you haven't missed anything.
Right.
So those tools, I think, I'm going to forget many of them, but you have NPlan, you have
Right.
as well Alice Engineering, you have Nodes and Link, and plenty more. And it's worth trying them, but obviously it takes a little bit of time to understand them, and it's a different way of working, I would say. The other thing, I was working with a team recently, and it's actually a true story. When you have tunneling work or linear infrastructure work, you do those time chain age. So it's a civil engineering thing. And they were still doing it by hand. So not really by hand, but they were still drawing the lines by hand.
Okay. Right. Right.
On Excel if you want, or whatever, but they were still,
Yeah. Yeah. Manual work. Yeah.
and so that's actually quite a good example. So I sort of took
Right.
the PDF, I put it in a no coding platform so that it coded everything for me, and now I can change it just like that. Do you see what I mean? So I think
Exactly. Yeah.
that's a good illustration of how project teams are working. They're still using traditional tools, and AI and new technologies can sort of show changes in real time, and it reduces the time it used to take to iterate and try new things.
That's a brilliant, insight on that. Now, Muriel, before we actually, conclude our podcast initiative and our episode, let's take a lighter route. All this way, we were just talking about your journey, then all about the technical aspects, about project leadership, about your, about your tenure as a commercial director and executive director. Now, let's take a lighter route in the form of a quick rapid fire round where we'll talk
Oh
about your
gosh.
likes and interests. Right.
Okay.
So, yeah. So, Muriel, what is your favorite sport? Is it like football or is it rugby?
It's rugby. In France, it depends on where you're born.
Okay.
I am from the French Riviera near Toulon.
Okay.
And so it's all about rugby, Akil. No football. No, 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 no.
No football.
No, we don't like that. Well, yeah, no, no, no. It's all about rugby. Yeah.
Okay. I'm a huge football fan, but yeah, I love even watching rugby as well.
No, you have to choose one or the other where I'm coming from, and we chose rugby. But yeah.
All right. Okay. So who's your favorite rugby player of all time?
My favorite for rugby player of all time. Blanco, Serge Blanco, but it's old fashioned because my grandfather used to love him, and my father, and then me. I also I used to I haven't followed up with the more recent high in the rugby team, but Caveman, when France won the World Cup was a really good one as well. So yeah, love them. Yeah.
Awesome. That's amazing. Now, what is that French dish, Muriel, that you would like to, recommend to our listeners and they should, try that?
What sort of French should they try? Oh, there is not one French dish only, Akil. That's quite, there's a lot more than one. So I'll give it a try. Bouillabaisse, I would say. So bouillabaisse, I would say it's like a fish curry, but the
Okay.
French way. So it's a fish soup, right, with rouille. Rouille is red mayonnaise, so it's a little bit
Okay.
spicier.
Mm-hmm.
And it's typical from the south of France, where I am from. So absolutely love it. So that's a
Okay.
must try.
Okay.
You can probably find it in most, French restaurants around the world.
Yeah.
Obviously, bread is a must try. I don't know
Okay.
about you, Akil, but I cannot live without bread, which is very bad because I can't stop eating bread and it's in my blood, I suppose. I just cannot fight it. What else? I don't know. You have calisson, which is some sort of, almond delicacy from Aix-en-Provence in the south of France. Yeah, plenty of things. And that's probably what I miss the most, living outside of France, because we have lots of traditions around food. And yes, having lived all around the world, sometimes I find myself missing something that I used to eat, back at home or when I was growing up.
All right. I mean, yeah, home food is home food. And yes, I mean, that actually adds a spice to that for sure. And you just were giving an example that you love bread. I mean, I'm a person, I come from the south of India and we eat rice, but I'm an exception because I like to eat Indian bread, which is chapati. And without
Mhm.
that, I cannot, take a chance.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a cloning. And again, yeah. So now so Miguel, what is that French movie that you always like to watch, like now and then?
A French movie that I always like to watch. That's a really good one. There is one that I like. It's called Eiffel. It's a story of Gustave Eiffel. I think it went out a couple of years ago.
Okay.
And I love it because the guy who built the Eiffel Tower, so his name was Gustave Eiffel, came from the same engineering school than me. And what I love about the movie, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, 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 so very proud of that. It's a French thing. I kill anyway.
Awesome.
What I love is that you can see how he built the tower and how obsessed he was about safety. And that's something in front that's really drilled in us. When you are an engineer, careful with safety and you can't. So it really makes me happy to see that it hasn't changed for dozens of years, hundreds, probably not hundreds of years, but you see what I mean. So it was always there, and I could recognize my university in terms of the philosophy, taking
Yeah,
initiative, traveling. So there were things that I could really relate to. So I highly recommend it if you can. So it's called Eiffel. And it's a
definitely.
love story as well, a sad one, but you're not going to get any spoiler from me. So, yeah.
Okay, done. So probably that's going to be in my tick list now for sure for seeing that movie. All right. Yeah. Now the final question to you, like, what is that place in French Riviera that you would like to, recommend me if I ever visit there?
Okay, so French Riviera, if you want ever to visit there, so French Riviera is lovely. I would avoid all the tourist, traps, and go probably in the smaller villages around Saint-Tropez and this type of locations. So my personal favorite is called Grimaud. So it's a very small village with a medieval castle on top of a hill. So you have the old city. It's probably lesser known than the other cities like Saint-Tropez or Marseille or Nice. I absolutely love it. You're close to the beach, and that's where I grew up. So that's just perfect, right?
Awesome. That's a brilliant recommendation, Muriel. Now, Muriel, thank you so much for taking time from your busy schedule and making this podcast collaboration of ours happen. It was such a pleasure having you and being part of this initiative, the TechOSpace podcast. I just was blown away by all the explanation that you were giving with respect to the AI, with the 3D printing, about your journey, and about the key differences that you have found out with respect to the businesses that you were dealing with, especially about your tenure mainly with the Department of Sydney. So that was really remarkable. And I had a great time conversing with you. So thank you so much once again.
Oh, thank you, Akil. Lovely to speak to you, and anytime.
Thank you. So, listeners, on this note, this is your host, Akhil Navluri, signing off. We would be back with another podcast episode with another eminent industry leader very soon. Till then, keep listening. Take care. Goodbye. Thank you. And au revoir. Thank you.